Welcome to the Sunset Stories channel. Don't forget to subscribe and share your favorite stories with your friends. Thanks for your support and enjoy watching. Chloe woke up early that sunny morning to a persistent knock on her apartment door. Her cozy one-bedroom, nestled on a quiet street in Chicago, still felt filled with lingering dreams. Outside, sparrows chattered in the fresh summer air, and the soft light of a new day filtered through the curtains. This was a momentous day, the day she was supposed to marry Ethan, and that knock carried both a tinge of unease and a thrill of anticipation. Probably the florist delivery person, or maybe Mia, arrived early, Chloe thought. She got out of bed and glanced quickly around her apartment, small but filled with personal touches. Each corner reflected her independence. Shelves lined with books in multiple languages, a framed painting she'd made back in college, and a comfy armchair by the window where she liked to sip her morning coffee. This condo belonged to her alone. She'd bought it with her own hard-earned savings and a mortgage, even before meeting Ethan. It was her pride, her very own space, won through diligence and unwavering resolve. The knock came again, more insistent this time. She threw on a light robe and tiptoed down the narrow hall to crack open the door. Standing there was her best friend, Mia, holding a giant bouquet of daisies and giving Chloe a slightly tired but genuine smile. "Good morning, bride," Mia exclaimed, handing her the bouquet. "I decided to show up bright and early so you wouldn't be so nervous on your big day." Chloe smiled and let her friend in. Mia had been by her side practically forever. They'd navigated high school, college, heartbreaks, and triumphs together. If anyone could ease Chloe's wedding day jitters, it was Mia. While Chloe found a tall vase for the daisies, Mia glanced around the living room. Her gaze landed on the white wedding gown hanging neatly near the closet. "Wow, it's gorgeous," Mia said with admiration. "Did you try it on one last time last night? Does it fit well?" "I did," Chloe answered, blushing a little. "It's perfect. I picked something simple but elegant. I didn't want anything too over the top today." Mia noted how a soft, glowing happiness lit up Chloe's eyes. But she could also sense the swirl of emotions beneath the surface. Excitement, joy, maybe a hint of fear. After all, Chloe was about to start a new chapter. Marriage, a huge life shift. "Let me help you get ready," Mia offered, swinging her bag of makeup and hair tools onto the table. "There's not much time. You still need to pick up your bouquet, then head to City Hall, handle some paperwork." Chloe nodded, though a nagging tension weighed on her. She'd always been careful with major decisions and disliked surprises. Maybe it was just those infamous pre-wedding nerves. They went into the bedroom, where Mia sat Chloe down at the vanity and started carefully styling her auburn hair into a classy, simple updo. Gazing at her reflection, Chloe remembered how drastically life had changed over the past year, ever since she met Ethan. They'd first crossed paths almost by accident. She was freelancing as a translator in the local architecture library, and he'd come in looking for a rare book. He was lost among the stacks. She helped him find the right shelf. One conversation led to another. They ended up chatting over coffee, sharing stories of childhood dreams. It all felt like something out of rom-com, the relationship blossoming quickly and beautifully. Ethan charmed her with his warmth and courtesy. He said he worked at a major tech company, deeply focused on his career. True, he was pretty tied to his mom, Pamela Henderson, but Chloe had brushed it off, figuring it was sweet he was so devoted to family. She herself had grown up with little sense of a real family. Her parents split when she was a kid, her grandmother passed away early, and she'd mostly learned to stand on her own. 9 months later, Ethan proposed. Chloe had hesitated, but ultimately said yes. She wanted that real family she longed for. Over a romantic dinner, Ethan knelt with a modest diamond ring and asked the question. After a brief pause, she accepted. Now, seeing her reflection in the mirror, Chloe thought about how soon everything would change. A new last name, new responsibilities, maybe moving in together. Yet the strange unease in her chest wouldn't let up, no matter how Mia tried to cheer her with excitement about the big day. The hairstyle was lightly enhancing Chloe's warm brown eyes. Time was running short, so the two of them rushed to City Hall, agreeing that Chloe would slip into the wedding dress right before the ceremony to avoid wrinkles in transit. The taxi driver was all smiles, asking about the wedding and offering his congratulations. Chloe responded politely, trying not to dwell on the bitter twinge of anxiety. At City Hall, an attendant greeted them with some paperwork for Chloe to sign. Her nerves spiked. Only an hour remained before the ceremony. The hall was already decorated with flowers, and guests waited in the lobby. In just 60 minutes, she would officially become Ethan's wife. Leaving Mia in the lobby, Chloe ducked into the small bridal suite to finally put on her gown and catch her breath. The silky fabric felt cool against her skin. The slight train rustled elegantly on the floor, and delicate lace on the sleeves lent her a gentle grace. Looking in the mirror, she told herself, "Here, I am on the biggest day of my life. Why is my heart pounding like this?" She drew a few deep breaths, trying to reassure herself everything was fine. Nerves. Everyone says brides get jumpy on the big day, right? A light knock on the door interrupted her thoughts. Turning, she saw Ethan peeking in, dressed in a sharp charcoal gray suit, a slender tie, his dark hair styled neatly, very much the dashing groom. He smiled, looking as if he'd just laid eyes on a fairy tale princess. For a moment, her worries faded. She smiled back, but something about his eyes hinted at tension. "Chloe," he said softly, "you look absolutely amazing." She blushed, feeling that familiar wave of shy warmth whenever he complimented her, as if she were just a college student again dreaming of her own fairy tale. "Thanks," she said. "You look great, too. Is everything on schedule?" "Almost," Ethan answered, exhaling and adding, almost as if bracing himself, "I have a small request, or, well, a question." Chloe furrowed her brow, but nodded for him to continue. "There's a document," he said, pulling out a neat folder from his jacket. "My mom insisted on it, and really, it's just a formality, a prenuptial agreement." He held out the folder. She didn't take it immediately. The phrase prenup swept an icy chill through her, as if she'd somehow known, deep down, that something was off. "Is that really necessary?" she asked, trying to keep her voice level, though her heart hammered with alarm. "You have to understand, Chloe," Ethan averted his gaze for a moment. "Mom is worried that if, God forbid, something happens, I'll be left with nothing. We're planning to live together. You already own your condo, and she thinks we need to protect ourselves. It doesn't mean I don't trust you. It's just Mom insisted." Chloe felt her heart sink. A surge of bitterness rose in her throat. Yes, she'd known Pamela Henderson was opinionated and controlling, never quite warming to Chloe, but to throw legal paperwork at her an hour before the wedding? She took the folder and opened it, scanning the first page. Her eyes quickly caught the bolded clause. "In the event of divorce, the condo belonging to Chloe Rivers shall be transferred to Pamela Henderson." Chloe reread the line, hoping she'd misunderstood, but it was there in black and white. Ethan's mother stood to claim Chloe's home if the marriage ever ended. Is this a joke?" Her voice cracked. Ethan shook his head. "Please try to see it from my perspective. I'm in an awkward spot. My mom is influential, and she's just looking out for the family's future. It doesn't mean I don't trust you. It's just a backup plan." Her heart pounded painfully. She recalled all the times she'd noticed how Ethan couldn't make a decision without his mom, from which tie to wear to spending his last savings on lavish gifts for her birthday, always deferring to Mom knows best. Chloe had assumed it was just filial devotion. Now, she realized it went far deeper and was far more toxic. For a few moments, neither of them spoke. She clutched the folder to her chest, while Ethan waited, seemingly sure she'd cave because she loved him and wouldn't want to cause a scene. Her thoughts whirled like trapped birds, frantic and cornered. She felt used, reduced to a commodity, her property the real prize. How could they talk of love now? Why? She murmured. Why are you doing this? We could have talked it through, not ambush me an hour before the ceremony. He looked away. Mom just wanted to be certain you wouldn't object. She thinks if you're really committed to this marriage, then it shouldn't be a problem. And I guess I didn't want to upset her. Suddenly, Chloe felt a chill, followed by a wave of determination. She lifted her head and locked eyes with him. I'm not signing. Ethan's face went pale, as though he never imagined this outcome. Maybe he'd assumed her love and fear of embarrassment would make her sign whatever he needed. You're seriously not, he began, but she cut him off. I've respected your family despite your mother's coldness toward me. But this crosses the line. You realize she's basically trying to claim my condo, right? Chloe, come on, we're a family. What's the difference? He tried, but his tone sounded forced. If we never get divorced, that clause won't matter. A bitter, trembling half-laugh escaped her. And if we do split, then you and your mother get the home I spent years saving for and paying off, while I end up with nothing. You think that's fair? He shrugged, like it wasn't a big deal. It's just how things would go in a worst-case scenario, he insisted. I really don't see us breaking up. Why fight Mom over a non-issue? In that moment, Chloe felt her heart break. The man she thought would stand by her was fully aligned with his mother. Either he shares her motives, or he's so dependent on her he'll do anything she says, Chloe realized. All right then, she said calmly. You want me to sign? I have something with me, too. Ethan blinked in confusion as she reached for a slim folder from her small purse. He recognized the label of a lawyer's office, a name Chloe had casually mentioned before. This is my version of a prenup, she said, a steely glint in her eyes. It flips the terms. If we divorce, everything that belongs to you, assets, property, becomes mine. Plus, your mother loses any say in our joint property. How do you like that? He flushed an angry red. You have to be kidding. Oh, is it ridiculous? Because your document is no less offensive, Chloe answered, her voice quiet yet resolute. Funny how it's all just a formality when you get my place, but outrageous when I'm the beneficiary. He opened his mouth but came up short. At that moment, Pamela Henderson burst into the room, petite but imposing, with a short, severe haircut. She looked both furious and alarmed, clearly realizing something was unraveling. What's going on? Pamela demanded, darting her gaze between Chloe and Ethan. Have you signed the papers? The ceremony's about to start. Chloe took a step back, hugging her own contract to her chest. She regarded Pamela calmly, though inside she was shaking with anger and betrayal. From the start, Pamela had never really hidden her disapproval. My son needs someone from a reputable family, with money, she'd once hinted. But Chloe had thought there was a grudging acceptance there. Now, all she saw was cold calculation. I refuse to sign, Chloe said firmly, looking Pamela in the eye. I believed you and Ethan wanted a loving, respectful union, but clearly family values here are only about property. How dare you? Pamela hissed, narrowing her eyes. Everyone signs prenups nowadays. Don't you want to protect my son? He could lose everything if you leave him. Have you considered I could be the one left with nothing if he leaves me? Chloe shot back. Or do you only care about Ethan's side? Pamela's jaw tightened. She darted an angry look at her son. Plainly, she wanted him to intervene, but he stood there, shifting from foot to foot, equal parts embarrassed and annoyed. Look, Ethan said weakly, maybe we can compromise? Chloe, you're making this into a big deal. Big deal, Chloe repeated. You're demanding to take my condo, which I owned before we even met, and you're calling it a formality? How else should I react? A tense silence filled the room, as though the air had turned thick. Chloe studied them both, her fiancé and her future mother-in-law. Only an hour ago, she'd thought of herself as a joyful bride with a bright future. Now, she felt like someone about to be scammed. Ethan, Pamela said sharply, we're out of time. I arranged this wedding, these flowers, the venue. And she's refusing a simple request? She doesn't appreciate all we've done. Chloe was stunned at how Pamela boiled the situation down to she won't cooperate, ignoring the fact they were essentially trying to seize Chloe's property. In Pamela's eyes, Chloe was that girl, not even a person with a name. Ethan tried again. Chloe, babe, can't we just sign? It's only paperwork. It doesn't change our feelings. Please. But Chloe had made up her mind. Something inside her snapped and was replaced by clarity. Better to walk away now than face a lifetime of being controlled. You know, she said, carefully putting both prenups back into their respective folders, I never thought I'd make this decision on my wedding day, but you two just showed me how you truly see me. I won't be signing, and I won't be marrying you. I'm sorry. Ethan's eyes widened as he reached for her hand, but she pulled away. Panic flitted across his face. He'd never expected her to flat out refuse. Think it over, he practically shouted, any semblance of gentle courtesy gone. Mom, say something, make her listen. Pamela's expression hardened. She grasped how precarious their position was. But Chloe had already decided. I won't be changing my mind, Chloe repeated, turning for the door. If you wanted to secure my property with legal clauses, that's not love, and it's not my future. Out in the lobby, Mia was waiting, brow creased with concern. What happened? Are you okay? She asked, seeing tears in her friend's eyes, but also a steely determination there. We're leaving, Chloe whispered. There's no wedding. Why? They demanded a prenup that gives my condo to them if we ever divorce. I said no. Mia's mouth fell open in shock, but she wasted no time pulling Chloe into a hug. Together, they strode past the guests and photographers in the waiting area. People murmured, Where are you going? Is everything all right? But Chloe didn't stop to explain. Outside, the sun shone bright over the bustling city. Life was carrying on, as though her grand hopes for the day didn't matter to the rest of the world. She took a deep breath, lifting the edges of her dress to descend the steps without stumbling. What about the reception? The food, the guests? Mia started, then cut herself short. Clearly, that was the least important thing now. They flagged down a taxi. The driver noticed Chloe's white gown and asked, Heading to your reception hall, ladies? Take us across town, please, Mia answered quietly. Somewhere nice and quiet. Chloe settled in the back seat, tears flowing the instant the door shut. They weren't tears of weakness, rather, heartbreak and relief all at once. She had escaped people who saw her as a resource to be claimed, not as a partner to be loved. Yes, it hurt like hell to call off a wedding at the last minute, but it was better than living a lie. Mia gently stroked Chloe's hair, whispering, You did the right thing. Seriously, they showed their true colors by springing that agreement on you. Yeah, Chloe said through tears. I'm just stunned that he and his mother thought I'd sign so easily. Traffic carried them past busy streets, where people hurried about. The city was oblivious to the bride in tears in the back of a cab. Strangely, Chloe felt a slight solace in that. Life went on regardless. She still had her home, her future, and, most importantly, her self-respect. Mia, still hugging her, added, Chloe, you're brave to face the truth. They ambushed you, but you broke free. Thank you, Chloe whispered. They spent the night at Mia's apartment, a spacious modern unit she shared with a roommate who happened to be out of town. Between tears and late-night tea, Chloe finally got some sleep. The next morning, she went back to her own condo. Letting herself in, she savored the comforting smell of home. This space was entirely hers. The floral curtains, her lemon-patterned bedspread, the linguistics and art books lined neatly on her shelf, all a testament to her independence. Grabbing a cup of coffee, she stepped onto her small balcony. It was a Saturday, and the neighborhood was alive with the usual weekend pace. A few young parents strolled with baby carriages. Birds chirped on a nearby rooftop. So ordinary, yet so meaningful. Life goes on, and she no longer felt trapped. Her phone buzzed a few times, calls from Ethan. She decided to answer to be done with it. "Chloe, thank God," came a strained voice. "Please listen to me." "Go on," she said curtly. He tried to explain how everything got out of hand, that Mom overreacted, that he never intended any harm, that he still wanted to marry her. She listened quietly. When he was done, her tone was gentle but firm. "I don't believe you had no part in this. You're too tied to your mother's wishes, Ethan. I can't marry someone who'd put my home on the line just to appease her. I'm sorry, but this is final." "Wait, can't we at least?" "There's nothing to discuss," Chloe told him. "You showed me how little my boundaries matter to you. I choose my freedom." He tried to say more, but she ended the call off her phone. She needed peace. Let him realize that a so-called formality could destroy genuine love. Over the next few days, the canceled wedding news spread among friends and coworkers. Some were shocked. Others nodded like they'd suspected something was off. Most were supportive, seeing Chloe stand as courageous. Pamela Henderson, through mutual acquaintances, tried to intimidate Chloe, hinting she'd regret this. But Chloe stood firm. She spoke to her attorney, who reassured her that her property was in no danger. Any moral objections from that family were irrelevant in the eyes of the law. A couple of weeks passed, and normalcy returned, albeit under a different rhythm. Chloe found a new job opportunity at a private translation firm. She refused to dwell on the wedding fiasco. As painful as it was better than living a future lie. One evening, Mia called with a suggestion. "Chloe, let's celebrate your rebirth. Have a night out, open a bottle of champagne, close this chapter for good." "Sounds great," Chloe agreed. "When? How about tomorrow night, at that cozy bar we love? We used to celebrate everything there. Remember?" Chloe did remember. A place with warm lighting and wooden tables, where they once marked significant milestones. A perfect spot to finalize this emotional break. She arrived early, the bar relatively quiet, faint jazz playing in the background. She ordered a mocktail and watched dusk settle across the Chicago skyline. Thoughts of Ethan still stirred a dull ache in her chest. But more and more, she felt relief. How had she overlooked his constant deferrals to what Mom thinks? Soon Mia showed up, greeting her with a cheery wave, clearly glad to see Chloe in better spirits. "How are you holding up?" Mia asked, sliding into a chair. "Better," Chloe admitted. "I've had time to think and decided not to dwell on it. Maybe it was all for the best." They ordered champagne, and Mia raised her glass. "A toast to your new life. No more lies. And to you, Chloe, who had the strength to walk away from that nonsense." Their glasses clinked, and Chloe felt warmth rise inside her. Yes, tonight called for a celebration of freedom. She'd chosen self-respect over a hollow marriage. Mia mentioned she knew someone at her office who needed a translator. Maybe it'd be a good networking lead for Chloe. She smiled, thinking how open her future now was. "Thanks for looking out for me," Chloe told her. "Of course. Don't ever let anyone push you around," Mia replied. "Promise." "I promise," Chloe said. Time flowed easily in the bar's cozy atmosphere. Around 11, they parted ways. Outside, a gentle breeze carried the city's nighttime hum, neon lights and cars weaving through the streets. Chloe felt strangely at peace. She was no longer imprisoned by fear of condemnation or loneliness. She'd broken free. On her walk home, she popped into a 24-hour grocery store for some sweet treats. At the cookie aisle, she noticed a man who also seemed lost in thought, picking out a box of fudge brownies. He turned, their eyes briefly met, and he gave her a kind, friendly smile, even though they were total strangers. Chloe returned the smile. Just a small human connection, a sign that life goes on. Back in her condo, she brewed tea and curled up in her beloved armchair, laptop on her lap. She typed in a few job searches, heart beating calmly with new possibilities. Sure, the betrayal still stung like a half-healed wound, but at least she'd walked away in time. That was the real victory. A month later, Chloe sat in the offices of her new translation firm, editing technical documents for an engineering client. She'd aced the interview, signing a great contract with flexible hours, just what she'd been hoping for. The friendly workplace vibe energized her. Her new boss, Alex, a driven young professional, worked closely with all his staff. Chloe found it refreshing to see managers who listened to employees as equals. One afternoon, Alex suggested she and a few team members grab dinner after work. Normally, Chloe would hesitate. She wasn't big on after-hours socializing, but she said yes. Why not meet fresh faces and build a new circle? The small group took over a big booth at a nearby cafe, ordering pizza and chatting about everything from weekend hobbies to workplace insights. Chloe realized she felt a little flutter whenever Alex addressed her or laughed at her jokes. The open, genuine way he looked at her was nothing like the anxious glances Ethan used to give, always worrying, what would Mom say? Later, as Alex walked her to the bus stop, he shyly admitted, "You know, Chloe, I really enjoy talking with you. I'd love to get to know you better, if you're cool with that." She smiled, feeling a gentle warmth bloom inside. This time, it felt real. No hidden motives, no controlling relatives making demands. "I'd like that, too," she said softly, realizing she wasn't afraid of exploring something new. She was no longer shackled by that old heartbreak. And so Chloe turned another page in her life story. The wedding never happened, but in its place came genuine freedom and brand new opportunities. She still had her beloved condo, all hers, legally, emotionally, morally. More importantly, she still believed in real love, the kind that doesn't need sneaky agreements or coerced signatures. Maybe one day, she'd find a partner who would truly respect her boundaries, who'd never dream of letting Mom confiscate what she'd built. Until then, she was content forging her own path, strong, independent, and unafraid. That's the end of our story. We hope you enjoyed it. Don't forget to subscribe and leave a comment. Your feedback means a lot to us.